Good evening. I and my family are moved by this initiative of the IWM to name a fellowship after my father. He would be very pleased to be in the company of the others who are so honored. I want to thank Sharini and Ivan for this initiative, which I was made aware of 1 year ago. I am not a social scientist, and I would not like to venture into your space of study to speak about my father's legacy in economics, political theory, the social sciences. Today, I can contribute to this gathering by evoking some memories, share a photo album of sorts, bring him into this room along with the memory of my mother, Sarah, and my sister, Lisa. My father was a hero to us in many ways. But from my first memories as a child, there was his physical daring, his fearlessness. I remember how after the war, he somehow managed to get one of those open jeeps that he had certainly come to know well in the US Army, and drive the four of us over the dunes in North Truro. That's near Cape Cod. That was in 1949 or so, in search of the very best blueberry patches. We were thrilled and a bit scared at the time, but we loved it. In the same vein, when we lived in Bogota, Colombia in the 1950s, and would go off on a weekend to Tierra Caliente, that's the hot country, and on the way back, find ourselves in a storm with a mountain falling onto the road. We called that a derrumbe. My father would dare death by driving our beautiful Chevrolet straight through the falling rocks, encouraged by the improvised Colombian police, who screamed, "Echa por la mitad," which meant just go through the middle. And so he did. He loved to surprise us with unorthodox thought. I spoke quite a bit about this at his memorial service in 2013 in Princeton. But here's another anecdote. One day, seeing my mother, Sarah, spending so much time cleaning up in the kitchen, he came out with a new idea. Let's just lower our standards. He didn't want her to clean so much. So, of course, the three of us, my sister, my mother, and I, objected in chorus, saying, "But the dust and the crumbs, we have to take care of that." But he insisted, even more forcefully, that we should re-examine why we wanted to spend so much time on this rather than on something more rewarding. From the beginning, my father shared his love of literature, art, and music. Before Lisa, my sister, and I could read, he decided we should hear the thrilling adventures of Ulysses, and he read the Odyssey aloud to us. I can still hear him delight in the name of Nausicaa. He would repeat and repeat it as in a song. And then there were the visits to the museums and to his favorite artists, Da Vinci, Dürer, El Greco, Morandi, Soutine, and many others. Later, as my sister Lisa became quite accomplished on the piano, my father would install himself next to her and sing Schubert Lieder with great energy. To link this photo album to my father's work and also the fellowship that is named after him here, I thought that the essay entitled Opinionated Opinions and Democracy, that can now be found in the book edited by Jeremy Edelman recently called The Essential Hirschman. This essay is quite perfect. It can provide inspiration to the future fellows, as there are important characteristics of my father's thought, and links back to who he was as a person. He starts out by citing Jane Austen, and then Chekhov, Dante, Yeats, and then Trollope in a footnote. They are called up as witnesses to his argumentation, thus opening up our minds to the infinite resource and whimsy that literature has to offer. Their intrusion is like a breath of fresh air in the economist's reasoning. And then, after describing how important it seems to society for an individual to have strong opinions, he turns the whole argument into a question and proceeds to suggest that just the opposite should be considered as not only better, but as the best guarantee for true democracy. It is this freedom to think differently, to question, which was so important to my father.